Okay. Is this okay? Now it works. Sorry, everyone. Terrible start to the game from my end, not least the Aziri, but had some technical issues to begin the stream. Very sorry for the late opening to the game, and as soon as once I got it running, once I got the video running, which itself was a bit of a difficulty. Sound wasn't working. A cross from Trippier, cleared behind by Di Lorenzo. So England scored from a set piece inside the opening minutes. Kieran Trippier's cross into Luke Shaw, wing back to wing back. Brilliant ball from Harry Kane here, and Trippier tried to supply Sterling. Di Lorenzo felt it was best to get it away. This is probably the slipperiest the pitch at Wembley has been. July rains across the country. I live about 30 miles north of the stadium, and I experienced it less than an hour ago. Donnarumma clears the corner. Italy attempt to go forward now. Pretty quickly absorbed by England. Sterling dashing ahead now. He's still got it. It's into Trippier. Phillips. Declan Rice. Of course, Gareth Southgate, who was born not far away from Wembley, made one change to his starting 11. And it's a corner again for England. Mason Mount has won it. And this is effectively an identical formation change. Identical formation to the one Southgate has used from the quarterfinals onwards and in the group stages. But on some other changes, who would normally occupy the right wing is at wing back. It's Kieran Trippier. And if Southgate feels the need to change from a back five, he can substitute Trippier for an out-and-out winger like Jadon Sancho or Bukayo Saka. As I said, Italy have an unchanged lineup. And it comes from Trippier again. It's Mount here. And Donnarumma grabs it. England, of course, have still only conceded one goal in 6.25 matches so far. Italy have now conceded a goal in each of the 4 knockout games they featured in. Into Di Lorenzo. Jorginho. Verratti. And England forwards again. But Declan Rice is penalised. Luke Shaw, who started every game bar the opener. Trippier started at left back in the opener against Croatia. But he has featured every match since then. Ben Chilwell hasn't played a minute at this competition, even though he is a Champions League winner this season with Chelsea. That's a nice ball forward into Insigne here, and seen behind by Trippier, and the flag is up, so it's not even a corner for Italy. Emerson offside by a very fine margin. Of course, filling in for the injured Leonardo Spinazzola is Emerson Palmieri. Shaw here. Can't get it in towards Mount. Nice ball. Stones deals with it. And it goes out for a throw-in, immediately taken by Emerson. Di Lorenzo. Bit too far for Chiesa, who's not happy with the weight of a shorter pass fed into him. And of course, in conceding just one goal in the tournament so far, England have once again shown just how disciplined they have been. Many saying that with all the talent at his disposal, Gareth Southgate's many felt before and in the opening games of the tournament was foolish for not prioritising the attacking talent, as that pass is intercepted by Raheem Sterling. And Rice gets it in towards Mount here. It's out of play in the end. Ultimately, he has prioritised the defensive structure rather than the offensive, and England have, of course, still scored goals, including 4 in their only match away from Wembley in this competition. But defensively, they've been fantastic, and they have definitely been making the most out of the spaces Italy have left behind, particularly in their midfield, which people felt before the game would be quite controlling from the Azzurri. Lost by Harry Kane, but if he was fouled. Captain impeding captain. But Kane grabbing that ankle again. He'll certainly play as long as he feels he can, no matter what the physios might think. Free kick switched into Shaw now, who can't find anyone on the edge of the area. It'll be another England throw. They would have hoped for a bit more from this, but 20 minutes played and with the advantage, they won't feel too much pressure. Shaw, Maguire. Back to Jordan Pickford. And this isn't a good sight. Jorginho down. And this would be very problematic for Italy. Of course, they have a midfielder with similar properties to him in Manuel Locatelli, but Locatelli has played as a 8 rather than a 6 like Jorginho in this tournament. Even scored 2 goals against Switzerland in a more forward role, but that is definitely worrying. As usual, it's Chiesa who receives instructions from Roberto Mancini. And that's the replay of the opening goal. What a moment for Luke Shaw. Donnarumma stranded. And what that could signify. Could that be the beginning of something beyond momentous for England? Tom Cruise and David Beckham might think so. And given the standards of England's performances over recent years, even hosting a tournament at home, winning it is, pardon the bad pun, mission impossible. They're a quarter of the way to finishing the job. But 3/4 of a match, a lot can happen as Jorginho hobbles off. And it's sad to see a player of his quality and of his elegance unable to take part. As I said, Locatelli has played in that role for Sassuolo, but not for Italy. It's great to see Jorginho looking composed in the situation. And the player there warming up, don't know if that was Locatelli, but Mancini, I'm not sure if he's telling him to get into his kit or continue onwards, or stop with the one ball together. Chiesa and England's block the cross just in time, which they have done so expertly in pretty much all of their matches. Into Calvin Phillips from Shaw. Stones hit. Sterling. Oh, beautiful movement. His attempt at a shot, I think, is blocked. If it was a pass, the attacker whom he was going to feed it into was going to have a lot to do from there. And Italy now heading over towards England's penalty area. Maguire clears it. And Phillips beats fellow 14, opposite number 14 to it. Jorginho back on the pitch. And that's something he's certainly been criticised for, Sterling. A lot of mockery about his ability to go down easily. Quite possibly the case in the semi-final in extra time against Denmark, which won England that penalty, which has put them in this final. The jokes that he should enter the Olympics as a professional diver, but ultimately kept his feet there, and in that move appeared to injure Jorginho. Hopefully the Brazilian-born midfielder can continue. Not looking so calm there, Roberto Mancini. With any manager, you can expect at least a few moments of insecurity and a lack of composure if your team isn't doing as expected. Not just in terms of result, but say play style. But there's still 55 minutes to go, 65 minutes to go. Offside against England's Chiellini into Bonucci. The ball forward from Italy can't find an attacker, but Maguire's pass forwards is intercepted. Lorenzo Insigne forward now. Palmieri very far forward. Back to Chiellini. Italy, both Italy and England, completed their group stages without conceding a goal. Italy will hope that they can can use that attacking pressure which they had in the beginning of the tournament as a very ambitious effort from over 30 yards out from Insigne. Was always going wide. Certainly see that both sides not coming to terms with the slippery nature of the pitch as easily as they might like. Inclement weather has affected many games at this tournament, and not just in London. But for both of these sides, it's to an extent unprecedented. But both Italian and English players have slipped in the opening third of this game. I could argue that England have dealt with it better, and that was a poor pass out. Here's Harry Kane. Luke Shaw. Italy, with all their players back towards their penalty box. Mount in the end can't locate a teammate. In fact, I think he located his Chelsea colleague, Jorginho. Mount, many have said if Italy are to be neutralised from the deepest positions, Mount's job as man marking and neutralising Jorginho would be extremely important. Well, certainly done well in that regard. But Italy progressed forward here. Barella. Di Lorenzo to Bonucci. Chiellini. And forward by Bonucci, seeking out Chiesa, another club teammate. And referee Bjorn Kuipers signals a free kick in England's direction. Foul on Mason Mount. Emerson won it there, but is tackled very quickly. Pressure. Ciro Immobile on John Stones. Back with Luke Shaw. Marco Verratti. Bonucci. Jorginho wants to spot out a player in blue, but it's back with Italy's defenders. Now it's back to Jorginho. Insigne accelerating away, but Declan Rice With the challenge, it's won back by Italy though. Di Lorenzo. Chiesa. Nice sequence of possession from the Italians. Barella. Verratti shifting. Seeing the left and the right sides of the pitch, looking for any opening in England's block. Verratti. To Palmieri and Senior. England briefly get it back after a tackle, but suddenly with the Azzurri, this is certainly one of their better sustained periods of possession and pressure in the game so far. Insigne, and it goes behind for a corner. A few words between probably an exchange of humour between the former Tottenham player and the present Chelsea player, although he is not a regular starter for the Blues. It's a discussion between Gareth Southgate and his assistant coach on how to handle that sort of possession. Into Raheem Sterling now. Mason Mounts. And he couldn't get it back to Sterling. Really good defending by Italy. Trippier fouling Verratti there. Sterling once again showing how good his positioning has been at this tournament. It is a throw-in for England. I apologise, but ultimately it's been first class to say the least in an attacking and a creative sense. He's reminded everybody why he's been one of the Premier League star men for the last few years, despite not having his best output in the most recent club season for Manchester City. Barella. Chiesa. Fantastic strength from Chiesa here. Forwards! Oh! Pickford again, making his frustration absolutely clear. But the defenders indeed had done just enough. Chiesa wouldn't be put off balance. Scrambled forward. And a very powerful, well-placed shot on his weaker foot. One of Italy's better chances so far tonight. Maguire. Declan Rice. And Calvin Phillips. Both players, Rice and Phillips, arguably capable of doing great going forward or defending. Speaking of which, Luke Shaw is also good at both. And he's kept going here. Shaw gets the cross in low and it's missed. What a fantastic bit of play from Shaw through the legs of Di Lorenzo. But Mount couldn't get near it and goes behind for a throw-in. But again, it's England showing just how dangerous they've been at this tournament. From those sorts of situations, Shaw, who's had 3 assists in his 5 games for England before this final, Also has a goal to add to that. Certainly been one of the players of the tournament. As Italy try and steer it away from danger now. England taking their time, pressuring. No sooner than Donnarumma passed it away, it's back with him. And it's not a good pass out. Rice into Kane. Quickly back into Harry Kane. Free kick going England's way. Nice diagonal ball for Italy. Oh, beautiful feet from Lorenzo Insigne. No, sorry, it's Emerson. They have very similar hairstyles, facial hair patterns. Emerson Palmieri and Lorenzo Insigne, not to mention they're both quite speedy on the ball. Over aggressive challenge from Palmieri on from a club of West London on a man who is the heart of an East London club on Declan Rice. Italy go ahead again. Emerson's cross, not a successful one at all. Bonucci appeared to have brought Kane down, but referee deems it not important to the build-up, so doesn't blow for a foul. And Bonucci could have been in a bit of trouble there. Certainly could have been shown a yellow card, if not a red. Even though it was on the halfway line, it was technically denying a clear goal-scoring opportunity. But it wasn't deemed a forceful one. It seemed like Kane more fell down himself there, as they both went for the long ball forward. Free kick to Italy again. As Mount trying to keep it away from Immobile. Brought down Barella instead. And Marco Verratti in a similar position on the pitch to where he fed in the goal for Matteo Pescina in that final group game for Italy in Rome. Verratti's first appearance of the tournament, he's pretty much featured non-stop since then. In it comes. Dangerous ball, but kept away for now. Insigne playing more centrally in this instance. Certainly capable of a nice through ball is Lorenzo Insigne. Or an absolute rocket. A screamer like the one he scored against Belgium. Cross from Emerson is immediately charged down. And Italy can't control it. And it's a goal kick. And so he's still hopeful. With all the Italians, it has to be Mancini, really. He's won at Wembley before. 10 years ago, victorious in the FA Cup final with Manchester City defeating Stoke City. Kane forward now, lobbed into Sterling. And it looks like Sterling went down himself, or went down too easily. Bonucci making his feelings clear. Sterling having none of it. Brilliant from Rice, surging forward here. Can't get the through ball into Sterling though. And mopped up by Chiellini. Donnarumma. It's Jorginho who spots a nice run forward from Insigne here. Trippier and Walker. Oh! And just as he was about to take the shot there, he was tackled. Pickford might have been in trouble, because that was very similar. Would have been very similar to the goal Chiesa scored against Spain, which would have left the goalkeeper no chance. Once again, emphasising that why England's defence has only conceded once, and that was from a free kick, direct free kick. Just how disciplined and prepared they are, how well they anticipate everything. Trippier gets that one away. Italy almost trying to push on with pressure like it's the end of the match, but they're not so pressurising in terms of numbers at least. 4 minutes to be added on, an unusually high number. For a first half. 4 minutes for Italy to get back on terms, and definitely changed the game, the dynamic of the game for the second half. Chiesa beaten to it by Shaw. He's showing great demonstrations of his ability in defence and going forward, and the volley is blocked. Great block. Not sure who that was. Verratti on the left foot and into Pickford. Not a troubling shot at all, that one. Looks like it was John Stones who made one of the blocks of the final, maybe the block of the final so far. Came off his hip. Hoofed away by Pickford. A minute and a half of the stoppage time played. 2.5 minutes to go. Rice here. Apologies for another issue there. Again, Italy certainly not coming to the best understanding with the pitch. Di Lorenzo. But it wasn't anywhere near a dangerous part of the goal. And even though we're seconds away from the end of the first half, Mancini showing his disapproval of certain things. You'd think he'd leave that for the dressing room, which they're moments away from heading towards. And there's the whistle. That'll do it for the first half. The goal from Luke Shaw coming very early on. And since then, well, Italy have had the occasional slightly threatening chance. England have dealt with it well. And it is England who leads by a goal to nil over the Azzurri going into the break. And hopefully for the second half, as I go into the break myself, I'll fix the concurrent issues and I'll see you on the other side. I'm back. So are the England and Italy players coming out of the tunnel. England's in front. After 2 minutes played, Luke Shaw's perfectly hit strike from the left is the difference. No doubt Italy still capable of creating something in this game. They're going to have to do something very strong to penetrate through England's, up to this point, impressively resilient defensive system. Who would have thought, with all the attacking names talked of for England, it is the defenders who have done the job. A defender having scored the only goal in the final so far. And we're off for the second half. Straight away nodded out of play by Italy. England scored a goal early against Ukraine in the quarterfinals. Wouldn't it be amazing if they started the second half the way they started the second half in that quarterfinal, also scoring early on. Ball forward, easily intercepted by Maguire. Maybe not the right time to mention it, but if England do hold on to the win, or even if they had to use extra time or penalties to beat Italy, it would be their first ever win over the Azzurri in a major tournament. This is the 5th time they've played each other, and they've never gotten the better of them. Of course, losing on penalties to Italy in 2012 in Ukraine. Kane chopped down by Barella, and Kuipers, the referee, is reaching for a card. Seems to go for a man much more than ball. The player who previously tackled Kane did a much better job. And of course, England still have not trailed in a single game in this tournament, not for a minute. These are the first minutes in which Italy have gone behind in the competition so far, and they'd love to change that. Sterling now has gone down, but the referee signals to play on. He wants Sterling back up again. It was Bonucci who made the challenge, but for me it seemed like more of a collision, if anything. Certainly less of a penalty than the one England got against Denmark. Italy take advantage of the possession they have now inherited. They have received as a result. Bonucci with another great ball. But Trippier and Pickford deal with it, but it's out of play from England's number one. Was Sterling already going down when Bonucci grabbed him? Or was there genuine contact? Well, the referee decides nothing doing. Chiellini here. Slow, delicate build-up from the Italians here. Oh, and Sterling has conceded a free kick in a promising position against Italy. It was Insigne who was bundled over by his opposite number 10. Two of the best players in their position in Europe coming to blows. And England's only goal, which they have conceded from the tournament so far, was a free kick by Mikkel Damsgaard on the half-hour mark on Wednesday. This is the two left-sided players, Emerson Palmieri and Lorenzo Insigne. Pickford again, very verbal with his instructions about what he wants to do. It looks like Insigne will take it. And it's just glaring wide. Real relief, but also real anxiety for England supporters. Because that is certainly one of Italy's best chances of the game so far. And no doubt that they'll continue attacking forward. England in the past would have been knowing to have conceded that. Kane now controlling it. Trippier wins a throw-in. That said, Italy have often in the past themselves conceded goals pretty late, holding on to a lead. Bonucci out to Di Lorenzo, and off an England player, back out of play. Phillips has won the ball here. And a really good challenge there. Italy back with it. And they're outnumbered on the right-hand side, but when it's Federico Chiesa on the ball, you should never count him out. Walker gets to it and nods the ball back to Jordan Pickford. And Gini already preparing to make a change. Domenico Berardi is on. He will be coming on. No foul by Chiellini there. Phillips. Italy's press getting a bit more efficient as the second half advances. We've played 7.5 minutes so far. Insigne will take a shot. Very wasteful. Simply couldn't get the control he wanted. And in addition to Berardi coming on, it looks like Brian Cristante of AS Roma is also joining. Here's Luke Shaw. Who will take the throw in he's just won. And it's Barilla, who's being replaced. I guess Mancini's worried about the yellow card he's picked up. And Churro Immobile also being replaced, not by an out-and-out centre-forward. Berardi, having spent his time at Euro 2020 out wide, and that is Immobile's tournament at an end. Barilla's tournament over. Immobile, as Italy's star centre-forward, has not fired up like many would have expected or have hoped for. Scored twice in the opening two matches. One in each of the games against Turkey and Switzerland, but none since then. Yellow card shown to Bonucci for his challenge behind on Sterling. Definitely not endangering the safety of the opponent, but maybe could have done being a bit less forceful. Looks like Shaw will go back from being a goal scorer to being the supplier. But before any of the players do anything, referee Bjorn Kuipers having something on his sleeve fix. It looked like a radio link, very important to communicate with his other officials. He's back into position, and now so are the 22 players on the field as well. Shaw, the header over the bar from Harry Maguire. Senior lobbing it into Chiesa, who's now switched to the left-hand side. Oh! And it's kept out by Pickford. It was a very tight angle. Would have been more of a cross than a shot. England's number one had to stop that at all costs if it wasn't a shot to keep it from rebounding into the path of an attacker. It didn't even go out for a corner, but Italy still keep possession. Verratti here. Jorginho. As Chiesa's shot went through the legs of Trippier, then Insigne intercepted it. And he definitely did appear to want to chip it, but Pickford stood strong. Here's Marco Verratti. Definitely at his best as he's good from deep, but he's even better in a more advanced role. Not necessarily as a 10, he doesn't have the pace for that, but as an 8 central midfielder, certainly getting the most out of his extraordinary passing range. Not to mention his technical ability, progressing the ball up the pitch. One of the silkiest Italy have ever had. Mancini's still not satisfied with his players' progress. Certainly not just the scoreline. Bit of a mix up there. Italy almost winning a corner, but instead have to settle for a throw-in. Chiellini. Ferretti arguably much deeper than Jorginho at this stage. Federico Chiesa. Ferretti, nice simple pass into Insigne. Jorginho out to Di Lorenzo. And free kick against Italy here. Teams who have been handballed by Emerson, and I guess that's a very harsh decision, to be honest, because it bounced off of Emerson's chest onto his arm. Definitely not intentional as far as I can see. And they have good reason to feel hard done by that. Conspiracies that, once again, the referees are very much on England's side, but I'd argue that any home side in the tournament would have decisions, favourable ones, going their way. Declan Rice with a nice run forward. Doesn't come to much though. Chiellini. Into Chiellini. Marco Verratti. Jorginho. Again, similar sequence, but again, the pass not at all threatening. Pickford's for a moment there hesitated, but eventually made the clearance, feinted around his the attacker pressuring him, and gets it away, but it's with Chiesa now. Federico Chiesa. Oh, and Pickford with a really good save to beat it away. That was one of the best pieces of Italian pressure, maybe the best so far. Maybe better still, not quite Insigne's clever ball through, with no teammates around, albeit. And Chiesa, had he put it further in the corner, would certainly have equalised. But Pickford with a good hand, firm hand to it. Maguire into Shaw. Shaw spotting Mason Mount here. And it will be an England corner. Mason Mount, having done his job defensively and offensively so far. Of course, creatively he's been good too, has set up loads of chances, although only one assist at the tournament, that was against Ukraine. In comes the corner. I think it was John Stones who headed that. But just fingers from Donnarumma, not that it was on target necessarily, but I think there's been a foul on an Italian player. Nope, it will go out for another corner. And this one is dealt with a little better by Italy. But England will, I'm sure, keep on the pressure. Pickford firing it forward. Quiet, Shaw here. A bit too far for Mount. "65 minutes having passed. England still leading from that strike from Shaw. Well, a strike too. First time hit. Appeared to scrape the post on its way in. And the earliest goal to be scored in the final of the European Championships. This the 16th final in the tournament's history. Ferretti. Chiesa. Tries a cross. Maguire keeping that one away. And Insigne almost got his head to it. And Cristante may well have done so. But Maguire anticipated it. Knew exactly what he had to do. Got there first. In comes the corner. Oh! And it's touched in. It's Leonardo Bonucci who's levelled it for 1-1. A set piece has hurt England once again. A direct free kick against the Danes, by the Danes. And now a corner which confused them a little. He lost his markers. And as it bounced around the 6-yard box, touched it home. And Italy have a lifeline in this final. Of course, they're level. But this certainly hasn't been a comfortable game for either team. And will this give Italy the energy they need? In winning this final, which they haven't done so for almost the entire history of the tournament. 1968 when they hosted it. Ball into Insigne, and now it's with Palmieri here. England's a bit slow to react to it. Chiesa. So much intensity in his runs when he's on the ball here. And flashed across the face of goal. Bonucci scored against Switzerland as well, I believe, or one of the games earlier in the competition, but it was disallowed. This one certainly will count now. Now, England have to keep their composure, which they've done so well throughout this competition. And you'll hope that this is a close game all the way to the end, as it threatened to be, as was discussed in the build-up. Still 20 minutes left, and lots can still happen. Yes, they do seem more fired up, although Palmieri slipped as he received the ball. It's with Verratti, though. Goes out for a throw-in. England wants something a bit more threatening here. And Bukayo Saka, another appearance at the tournament. It looks like Trippier is coming on. Saka can cover as a wing-back or as a winger. So either way, he can. The system can still operate as a 3-4-3 as it did at the start of the game, or as a 4-2-3-1. And no foul on Kane there. Verratti. Here's the goal scorer Leonardo Bonucci back to his Juventus teammates. Italy controlling the possession. Jordan Pickford clears it into Walker. Phillips with a nice comfortable pass. Here's Kane. Emerson deals with the through ball to Saka, which wasn't particularly threatening either. It's looped into Insigne. Jordan Henderson looks like he might be taking to the field. And this is Berardi, my goodness. Had a chance to put Italy in front there. Declan Rice coming off. He's been brilliant as a destroyer, controller of England's midfield in the physical sense. And while Jordan Henderson has not matched his Liverpool form with England, you have a leader, someone who has certainly had plenty of experience. Verratti. Go forward again, very inspired here. And just England's defenders do just enough to prevent Cristante's potential shot from being a dangerous one. It's only the third goal they've conceded since their last defeat in any game, in any competition. They've kept so many clean sheets, of course, not one today. Another wave of attack from Italy, but Walker gets it away from Chiesa. Italy want handball. It wasn't intentional from Saka, mind you, nor was the handball from Emerson, which was given as a foul. Maybe justice has been done. Italy were in a promising position when the referee prematurely blew for a deemed foul by Emerson. Minutes later, Italy score. Chiesa. Through ball blotted out by Maguire. And this is what was talked of about Italy. With that superior midfield, England, no doubt with Henderson coming on, trying to enhance theirs in terms of press resistance and quality. Not to mention fresh legs, which is what Italy have done too, replacing the likes of Barella. Albeit with no centre forward on the pitch at the moment for Italy. Insigne now. Ferretti again. Playing with the defenders even though he is not one himself. Ferretti. To Chiellini. And it's Harry Kane now for England. Henderson. But Saka doesn't anticipate the pass in time. And it's given away. No. Free kick going England's way there. Calvin Phillips. It's England's still barely able to keep it out of their own third. Another free kick in favour of the Free Lions. Walker. Into Saka. Another free kick in succession to England here. Phillips. Shaw here. Headed down and away. Into Saka, but intercepted tackled as much by Chiesa here. Chiesa's still going. And by the time England tackle, another Italian player is ready to collect the ball. Chiesa covering his face in pain. I'm not sure if it's entirely genuine though. He might have been reacting to the collision, the force from Kyle Walker. He's also been grabbing his right ankle. The physios are at the scene. It's Cristante who gets instructions from Mancini. So I might see a little bit of irony in that with Cristante, a Roma player, and Mancini having coached and played for SS Lazio. Both of these two teams are in the pits of despair. 10 minutes, just a few years ago I was going to say there are 10 minutes to play, but England's of course knocked out of these last European Championships by the likes of Iceland, Italy, and to qualify for the last World Cup through a playoff would have had to have qualified that way. Lost the first leg of that playoff against Sweden 1-0 away in Rome. They could only manage a 0-0 draw, the first time they'd missed the World Cup since 1958. So for both these two sides, a lot of pride will be involved if they there will be an enormous amount of pride. There is a lot of pride in just reaching the final, but to win this trophy, that would be something else, of course. England have never won it before this tournament. They just won a total of one knockout game. That was in a penalty shootout. Italy having won it once before in the early ages of this tournament. Apologies to Chiesa. Looks like he has genuinely hurt himself. England's restart play. It's possible that the young man once of Fiorentina is replaced by another ex-Fiorentina attacking midfielder in the form of Federico Bernardeschi. England's with a streak of possession for once, possibly their longest since conceding. Good ball into Mount here. Shaw. Mount. Sterling missed it. Hoofed away. Calvin Phillips now. Stones. Shaw. Jordan Henderson. And another free kick in the direction of England. Challenge on Phillips, and the cards coming the way of the offender, Lorenzo Insigne. But there was no attempt on the ball from the Napoli forward. Mounts. It's headed away and straight over the bar from short. Heading more for the upper tiers of Wembley than the roof of the net. And Federico Chiesa is to be replaced by his namesake. Fiorentina have produced plenty of great attacking talents over the years. Roberto Baggio, 3 decades ago, was one such star. Bernardeschi a few years ago. And Chiesa, who's been one of Italy's brightest performers. And it is sad that his tournament is at an end. I think Bernardeschi recognised that as he walks onto the field. Funnily enough, all 3 of Baggio, Chiesa and Bernardeschi all went their next club after leaving Fiorentina, Juventus, where Chiesa is playing now, where Bernardeschi has been, although he hasn't played a particularly prominent role in the team's matches in the last season or so. Emerson, Verratti, Four minutes to go. I'm sure there's going to be quite a few minutes of stoppage time. Italy will, I'm sure, dominate the ball regardless of what happens between now and the final whistle for the end of the 90 minutes. Whether there's more to come, we'll have to wait and see on that one. England looking a bit more composed since looking a bit more composed. 20 minutes since they conceded. Not sure why play has been halted. I think it's actually to do with the match ball. England's in possession as play restarts. Pickford to Maguire. Stones now. And Sterling here. On the move once more. He's still going. And the referee signals goal kick to the Italians. It's absolutely magnificent the way he drives through everybody. In the end, the Italians drove the ball out of play along with him. Now pressing the centre backs here. Good tackle by Phillips on Cristante. Sterling. couldn't keep the ball under his feet. Bernardeschi again. Phillips considering the challenge. I think Italy get the throw in there. Replay of Sterling slipping over more than anything. Trying to keep on to the ball. The 90 minutes are up. We're into stoppage time. And this would be a moment, a huge moment for both sides if they're to find a winner. And if there is to be a winner, they have 6 minutes to find one. Given the relatively quiet nature of the game in the last few minutes, it feels like extra time is all but guaranteed. On those observations, I've been proven wrong. Many have been proven wrong by games like this in the past. Italy with a free kick to defend. It's Luke Shaw who delivers. Maguire winning the header. And Italy with a free kick going the other way. Marco Verratti. Bonucci. Giorgio Chiellini. Many felt that with Italy's back line they would be frequently caught out on counter-attacks, caught up the field by the quicker forwards. You could argue that did contribute to the goal that they conceded in the second minute of this game, but that was more an issue with wide players. The cross finding nobody. Walker getting the better of Insigne there. Bukayo Saka here as Chiellini fires that downfield. Pickford upfield. And it's safely with Donnarumma. Into Emerson Palmieri. Verratti. Chiellini. Cristante. Emerson chests it down. Verratti. Jorginho. We've played 3.5 minutes. Over halfway through, 6 minutes added on. Insigne. Verratti's pass intercepted. Kane tries to flick it into Henderson. And forward once more by Italy. Oh, headed by Walker, finding Pickford just wide of the goal. Clearance getting all the way back to Donnarumma, and Italy have possession again. 1 minute remaining. And Jorginho, his pass cut out. Kane beaten in the air. Saka with a good challenge. Looks like we are going to play the 90 minutes. Chiellini has hauled down Saka. Certainly a yellow. Not only was it cynical, it was technically a clearish goal-scoring opportunity, because Saka would have been through on his own down the right side. That's a very, very strong and clear pull of the shirt by the oldest man on the pitch against pretty much the youngest. Kiss of his wrist. This is possibly the last action of the 90, maybe the last action of the championship. Phillips. Sure will see it out. And this finale to Euro 2020 is going to extra time like the one in Paris 5 years ago. Final of 96 and 2000 went to extra time. But 2004, 8 and 12 were won within the 90. Each time the winning side keeping a clean sheet. And if you're curious about penalty shootouts, well, there hasn't been one to conclude a European Championship since 1976. And yes, if you can associate that year with the European Championships, you'll remember, or at least have known of, Antonin Panenka's chipped penalty. The technique is now, of course, named after him. And we might well be seeing that before long. This is Italy's third foray into extra time in the knockouts of this championship. It's England's second. For both sides, it's their second in succession. Both teams needed extra time to get into the final. Italy through a penalty shootout. England through a penalty, for many conscientious, the first 15-minute period. Players for Italy huddled in a ring around Mancini. Well, a couple of Italy's players play their football in England. None of the England squads do so in Serie A. Similarly, Southgate in the centre of a ring. Henderson, if anything, looked towards the centre. I might be reading too much into that, even though many feel he is so much more of a leader than England's official captain, Harry Kane. But regardless, both are certainly good offer good leadership. Exchanges between former Leicester teammates Maguire and Chilwell, both since having left for bigger teams at club level. And so, another 30 minutes, which could decide this final. The tournament's one of the finest international tournaments, it must be said, of recent times. Andrea Bellotti makes his way onto the pitch, I think. Scored in that semi-final shootout over Spain. And it is Lorenzo Insigne who is replaced, so Italy's wide men who have been so menacing, replaced by another centre forward, and Italy once again with a truer number 9 of sorts on the pitch. Well, Bellotti is by all means a centre forward. Has racked up so many goals for Torino. It's a very awkward ball, and inadvertently or otherwise it puts pressure on England, even though it is their throw. They have to go a little deeper than they would have liked. 30 seconds into extra time. Free kick to Italy. Ferretti is going to take this. But he doesn't play it forward, plays it back. And it's Bernardeschi out wide for Italy. And the referee gives a free kick England's way against Bernardeschi. Jordan Henderson grabbing his face. It was nothing to do with Bernardeschi. It was Emerson, who I don't think did anything wrong really. It was Henderson who rather ran into the back of Palmieri there. But any time on the ball will definitely help for England. The nerves deepen for the England supporters who have come here. And was Maguire caught there by the high boot of Berardi. It's unintentional. John Stones. Walker. Saka. England with a good attack in terms of options. Shaw wins a throw-in though. Manuel Locatelli is also looking like he'll make an appearance. Di Lorenzo takes the throw in. Pressure from Sterling on the left-hand side. Clash between two players, neither born in the country they're representing. Jorginho of Brazil originally, and Sterling from Jamaica. nice ball aimed at Berardi. But it's too far for him. Phillips. Phillips to Luke Shaw. No, can't control that one. But a through ball here into Raheem Sterling, and he's won a corner before he could get the cross into a more dangerous area. Great work from Chiellini. And it was a really simple ball into Sterling. He started pretty much every game since he returned from injury. But Marco Verratti is also coming off for a very similar player, more used to playing in an even deeper role. But Manuel Locatelli is no slouch when it comes to passing ability. And based on this tournament, goal scoring ability. Shaw with the corner. Calvin Phillips. Oh! Glaring just wide. And it's not the first time he's struck a volley from outside the box at this tournament. Just needed a bit more bend on it. Kane. And the pass away is poor from Henderson. Acknowledges it was a waste of possession. Trippier has come off, but his night is not over in every meaningful sense, as he helps Jack Grealish get his kit on. Certainly Grealish will provide some impact on those defenders. The cross in from Di Lorenzo, kept away from Belotti by Stones. Grealish has started one game at this tournament, but he's been on as a substitute in a few others, and every time he's shown with his energy, especially against tired legs, what he can do. And here's Belotti. And Pickford prevents a corner. Good throw, finding Mason Mount. And brought down by club teammate Jorginho. And the change is made for England. It is not the likes of someone like Saka or Sterling coming off. It is Mason Mount. Jack Grealish will certainly do his best to punish the tiredness and maybe even the lack of pace and agility of the defensive players. He's right with Di Lorenzo. Shaw tries to spot a teammate. Leaves it for Maguire. Here's Shaw. Kane beaten in the air. Phillips probing it forwards. Saka now. Shaw. Can't find anyone in the box, but it's back with England and with Maguire, who gets it back into Jordan Pickford. Phillips. Kane can't win the header. And it's a flag against Italy and against Belotti, who strayed offside. Shaw. It's Grealish here. And trying to make the most of his feet. And it goes out for a goal kick. Tried to feed it into Saka. Unsuccessfully, however. By the time Saka realised Di Lorenzo had played the ball in a different direction, he had already kicked it and out of play. Thrown for England. Quiet with a very ambitious pass. I'm not sure whom he noticed, but that wasn't in any threatening direction towards the teammates. Some incisive balls through the centre for Italy here. And they still go on. Good save. I think a goal kick has been given. Ball did go out of play there. And it was swung in by Emerson. Pickford punched it. Well, half on the floor. Belotti thinking should be a penalty. Or maybe he was just appealing for a corner. I didn't see any sufficient contact there, really. Goal kick from Pickford straight at the opposite goalkeeper. Di Lorenzo. Chiellini. Emerson. Bernardeschi. Here's Locatelli. England get it away at last. From their perspective, maybe a bit too long for them. Free kick against England. Too heavy a challenge from Kane on Jorginho. Yes, didn't get the ball at all really, but no card is shown. And it's just going to be 1 minute to be added on as stoppage time at the end of the first period commences. That's a very simple ball, and it's cleared away, and that should be England's free kick as Di Lorenzo shoved into Grealish. Definitely. As I mentioned, he didn't really connect with the ball at all. Headed forward by Shaw. Grealish can't seek it out. And the referee saying there was a handball. Obstruction by Locatelli. I wouldn't say it's, again, a handball that he can particularly do much about. Certainly wasn't intentional. No, not the first time Italy have had some sort of decision of that kind go against them in the final. So, it's another left-sided set piece for Luke Shaw. He's already scored England's only goal tonight. How would he like to create another? It's hit too far and headed onto the roof of the net. And we're halfway through extra time. Still nothing separating these two sides on what really matters, the score sheets. And I'd say that on the balance of how the latter stages of the original 90 in the first half of extra time have played out, I'd feel that Italy have certainly had the better opportunities to win this game without the need of penalties. But there is still hope for both sides. Something can change. Italy have made 5 changes, England just 3. Marcus Rashford looks like he may be coming on. And if we are indeed going to penalties, well, he is often converted from the spot. But we're still some way off from that being the case. There's still 15 minutes of football. It won't take place at either end. It will take place generally in the middle. Away we go. It was in the second half of extra time in Paris 5 years ago that Portugal won the European Championship through a inspired strike from distance from Eder, a journeyman, hardly scored goals even as a centre forward. A collision between Maguire and Andrea Belotti. And he was already going down as Maguire ran into him. But Maguire is booked. That's only as Eder came into the stadium to present the trophy, which one of these teams could be lifting in 15 minutes, and it could even be that one of these teams lifts it in just more than that, and possibly 5 kicks of the ball from one end of the field. I'm certainly excited for that possibility, but first a free kick, a direct free kick for England to defend. We all know what happened in their last game in this tournament, and it's Bernardeschi who has eyes on this one. Bernardeschi into Pickford, and he gathers it up before Jorginho can tap in a rebound. He got it around the wall. It was low in direction. Throw in for England. To be taken by Kyle Walker. Oh! Italy can't keep it out. Kane. Oh, Donnarumma missed it. But so did England. And Italy have it away with Bernardeschi. No foul, says the referee. And it's back with the Azzurri. And forward comes Manuel Locatelli. Belotti's through on goal here. Drills it across. But before he can spot a teammate, the linesman raises the offside flag. Great ball from Harry Kane, which Donnarumma did not get to very convincingly. John Stones couldn't quite direct it towards goal. Chiellini, unsure. He left it to the goalkeeper. Luke Shaw hobbling there. Which might be reason to concern. Not necessarily because he would need to be substituted, but in case it hampers his runs going forward. I couldn't dare say if this is meant to be England's night, but they've certainly had to put up with a lot of pressure to get this far into the game, despite having led for more than half of the first 90 minutes. Out of play by Henderson, couldn't keep that one down. Thrown in to be taken, but it doesn't pass forward. Heading towards nobody. Calvin Phillips. Walker. Henderson. Stones now. Walker. Phillips. It's Maguire. Grealish. Still Grealish. Sterling. Sterling! Can't keep on to it. And hooked away by Emerson. Did Walker keep it in play? He did. Stones. Grealish. Jack Grealish going on. Centre Shaw on the left side. Saka. Phillips. Stones. A nice sequence from England. And all the way back to Jordan Pickford. Phillips. Bukayo Saka. Stones. Walker. Henderson into Kane. Good feed. Sterling here. Tackled from beneath Grealish. Good recovery. But the referee signals for an England free kick as he grabs his ankles. It was Grealish and Jorginho going for the same ball. Jorginho lifting his studs to get to the ball, but instead connecting with Grealish's knee. Not a pretty sight whatsoever. So here we have it again. It is a bit reckless from Jorginho. The way his studs are up as he goes in there. Maybe that's why they're curious about... well, he has been booked. But I wonder if the English fans and players wanted more than that. So many yellow cards for both teams in total. And Italy, I think, are going to bring one more attacker on for the final moments of this game. And of course, England have the resulting set piece. Henderson, Phillips, Walker. Jorginho cannot come back on. And looks like Phillips will take. And it's claimed by Donnarumma. Looks like there might have been another collision inside the penalty area. Jorginho returning into play. It was with Andrea Belotti grabbing that lower back like he did, I think, in the semi-final. Donnarumma bumping into Maguire as well. 5 minutes of extra time remaining, although I'm sure we'll see at least 3 minutes of stoppage time, so it's closer to maybe 8 or 9 minutes of football in this wonderful tournament to play. Italy look a bit more active and a bit more alert maybe. Cristante. Chiellini. Cristante out to Emerson. Bernardeschi. Hoofed upfield. Forward again. Bukayo Saka going all the way here. Grealish. And it's a goal kick to the Italians. Off comes Emerson Palmieri. On comes Alessandro Florenzi. Interesting that he comes on so late. It's not an attacking change. Florenzi, who left midway through the first game in the tournaments and comes on midway through the final game. So he's bookended the tournaments. Could well be that he comes on to take a penalty as well for Italy. I believe he has taken a few for Roma. Certainly one you'd expect to be up for stepping up to the spot, and his first touch is a header, but it goes out of play, seen out of play by Walker. Phillips now, and England were looking to bring on Jadon Sancho and Raheem Sterling, who would also be you'd expect to be taking penalties. It's into Florenzi. Jorginho. Chiellini. Florenzi. And it's a corner for Italy. 1 minute of the 120 left. Substitution. A defensive substitution for England. It might be a bit of a gamble, considering it is England substituting players on while defending a corner. Not how they would have liked it. Henderson comes off, and maybe that's not a surprise if it is to be penalties. Having missed from the spot against Romania in a friendly on the eve of the tournament. And then, of course, was the only England player not to score a penalty in a shootout under Southgate so far. 11 penalties, 10 scored. And it was against Colombia where his spot kick was saved. But maybe it won't even come to this if Italy can find some inspiration from Bernardeschi's corner. In it comes. Flicked across. Phillips will clear it away. Don't know how many minutes are to be added on at this stage. It is going to be 3 minutes, in fact, as I suspected. 2.5 minutes for Italy, it seems, to find a winner. 2.5 minutes for England to see their opportunity of glory from the spot. Florenzi. It's Bernardeschi. He wants a free kick. And instead it's a throw-in for the English here. And you can be certain, if it is to be penalties, the English fans who have filled Wembley, maybe more than were meant to turn up, will be singing their country on. It wasn't enough the last time a penalty shootout occurred for England at Wembley against Germany, but it was enough against Spain very decisively. They have an experience of success and failure from the spot at this ground. 1 minute left. Almost certainly the goal will come from Italy, and it's seen out of play. Mancini does his best to prepare himself. Even Italy haven't had the best history of penalty shootouts. They, of course, have won a World Cup final on penalties, but lost on penalties 12 years before that. But the referee, I think, will allow play to continue just a little longer. And another throw-in. Saka, Phillips. And that's it. The football at the tournament is over. But we still need to find a winner. And for the first time in 45 years, it'll be a penalty competition to decide the tournament. And if this is an omen for England, it was Czechoslovakia who took the lead in that game. He in fact went 2-0 up before West Germany levelled it. West Germany definitely would have been the favoured team, the reigning world champions at the time. And of course, Panenka chipped Czechoslovakia to glory. And whomever of these two sides, each of which have come from serious lows in the recent years to get to this point, will also require penalties. Donnarumma, of course, has been in a shootout in the very recent past with Spain. Pickford has won 2 shootouts for England. Prince William has his choices for penalty takers. I can see that. Beckham with a checkered history. He skied a penalty at Euro 2004, but also scored. This was in a game, of course, but he scored the penalty which gave England the win against Argentina in the 2002 World Cup. We all know what happens. The last time England were in a penalty shootout at this competition, it was against Italy, and they did go on to lose. Southgate is definitely asking the players who he thinks, asking the players who would like to step up. Definitely see smiles from a couple of players. The pessimism of the past seems to be replaced. For many, this is not how such a competition should be decided. But they've played for 2 hours. The energy levels, even the adrenaline levels, will be running thin. And this is ultimately a spectacular way to decide things. Great test of psychology. And often, penalty takers from the better side go on to win the shootout. Another interesting fact is that the majority of the time, I can't remember the exact figure, but if it was around 80%, but in penalty shootouts, when a team enters a penalty shootout, having gotten to that very round through penalties as well, they go on to lose the second shootout, which definitely favours England. Only one thing is that that's happened twice at this tournament already. Switzerland beat France on penalties and then lost to Spain in the same way. Spain beat Switzerland and then lost to Italy through a shootout, and now, if the trend is to continue, it would be England who win, but that is all just speculation. The real action is about to come. A shootout that could make or break it for these teams. Often, even if it's by the finest of margins, sometimes it takes one painful defeat and a proud history can unravel. An embrace between Donnarumma and Pickford. And I believe it's going to be in front of the English fans. So I believe Italy will take the first set of penalties. Either way, this is going to be a huge moment for so many players, so many people. It is Italy who go first, and it is Berardi who steps up first, already trying to keep his cool. Has taken penalties for Sassuolo. Although it was the Sassuolo player Locatelli who couldn't score in the semi-final shootout. Left-footed against the left-footed keeper Jordan Pickford. And he sends Pickford the wrong way, does Berardi. Italy with the early advantage. Harry Kane, who scored from a rebound against Denmark, but the rebounds won't count here. He scored in that shootout against Colombia 3 years ago. Now he faces Gianluigi Donnarumma. Into the corner. We're level after one penalty apiece. Too much power for Donnarumma. Traditional. Common for Kane to do that. Sets the example. Bellotti scored in the semi-final shootouts. Pickford, of course, will have, I'm sure, seen the footage at least a fair number of times and known what sort of thing Belotti might do. Belotti staring him down and the ball. Saved by Pickford! And that's all it took to take part of the roof off Wembley. And it was struck not far enough into the corner and battered away. Maguire. He's taken penalties for England. These two faced each other in a Europa League clash earlier in the season. Manchester United against AC Milan. United beat them on aggregate and went on to the final. Maguire into the top corner. England in front. Struck with so much power and ferocity, it also knocked out the camera in the far corner of the net. Southgate showing his approval. Steve Holland, his assistant coach, keeping everything to himself. Bonucci, who once again has to step up with his history of penalty misses in shootouts before. He would hope behind him. Italy will hope is behind him here. And it's too high for Pickford. Two-two. Marcus Rashford. He's missed the occasional penalty, but not many, and certainly hasn't missed in shootouts in the past for either club or country. Took and scored his penalty in the Europa League final a few weeks ago. Took and scored his penalty in the World Cup shootout 3 years ago. It's a straightish run-up. I do think he'll shift a bit further to the left once he's ready to go. Oh, it's hit the post. Tried to be too clever. And for Manchester United fans, maybe sums up his more recent form. He's certainly done many acts of heroism on and off the field. That will definitely not stand with them. Bernardeschi, fourth taker for Italy. Pickford very animated. It's down the middle. Italy back in the lead. He tried to stick out his legs, but I think the ball was already going too far away from him. Big pressure on Jadon Sancho to score this. Can he avoid the mistake of his future club teammates? And it's saved by Donnarumma. Italy, a penalty away from glory. and a half-century wait. And the man who steps forwards for the Azzurri is the man who rarely ever misses. Jorginho. Jorginho can seal the title for Italy if he puts his penalty away. Saved! Unbelievable! It was coming off the post, I think, before Pickford gathered it up. Absolutely extraordinary. But England still have to score their fifth penalty. Bukayo Saka of Arsenal with this vital kick. 19 years old. Donnarumma saves! And Italy are champions of Europe. Polite as ever, Southgate. The unbeaten streak continues for the Azzurri. 1968 in Rome, Italy sealed the title, got into the final on a coin toss. And they were in the final since then, losing in extra time in 2000s. Swallowed up by Spain 4-0 9 years ago. Finally, their time is back. It's certainly a hard one to take for the Three Lions. This has still been a fantastic tournament for them. Bukayo Saka, inconsolable. It is a sad irony. This side has been built on youth in the past, England's team. It was the experienced players who scored for England and the younger players who couldn't handle the pressure. It has still been an exceptional tournament from England. They certainly proved themselves. But it's on their own grounds where they taste defeat here tonight. Roberto Mancini, who had arguably the best years of his managerial career in England with Manchester City, won the Premier League, the FA Cup. Donnarumma not quite with a hat-trick of saves, but more two saves with the other penalty coming off the post. not the highest quality penalty competition. It did take 10 penalties, as it usually would, to decide the fate of the tournament, but only 5 of which were scored. What now for England, who have come so far, even with it essentially being their home tournaments, having done so well, having truly proven themselves as a great international force, and they will hope to build on this. But so often it is these sorts of games where teams begin to decline. Sometimes it is victory. Portugal haven't been at that same level since winning in Paris 5 years ago. Spain definitely began declining after winning in Ukraine in 2012. You could argue, though, that England were underperforming in international tournaments. Italy weren't even qualifying for them, and that is in itself a damning statement. Didn't qualify for the 2018 World Cup, but their next major competition, they have triumphed, and they are ultimately also in the semi-finals of the Nations League playoffs, which will take place in a few months' time. England have proven to be truly exceptional. Their defensive setup was remarkable, and even though they were outplayed here tonight, you could argue they were absolutely solid, and they can build on that and build forward, because that setup will suit them well for future tournaments, even if they don't reach more finals in the near future. So much credit must go to Southgate, his team, and his coaching staff have gone so far. So many great names on both teams. He'll be picking up medals. Not the ones England will have wanted, though. This might not be the, with everything he has achieved at club level, Mancini's greatest achievement, but it's always special. It's always something to lead your country towards an international title. He's won Scudetti with Inter Milan. Of course, all the trophies in England, but to have triumphed with the Azzurri is something else. It's their first international title for 15 years, of course, after the 2006 World Cup. Plenty of proud, happy supporters who have made the long journey across the continent, outnumbered, and yet they are the ones who will see their team lift the Henri Delaunay trophy. Truly impressive. Southgate with his first defeat in a penalty shootout, explaining how he felt, explaining what lessons can be learnt, his experience. If England can take positivity from this experience, they certainly won't decline, but maybe not with pretty much any future tournament without this much home support. That said, reaching the final was not necessarily expected before the tournament began. Another defeat in the final for Harry Kane. Champions League final, runners-up. Football League Cup, runners-up. And ultimately, runners-up in the European Championship. The trophy still eludes him. Podium is under construction. Not the podium a lot of the fans at Wembley would have hoped to have seen being built. And in a few moments, England will collect their runners-up medals. If there's one positive to take from the defeat, it's England's teammates won't have to recreate Phil Foden's blonde dye hairstyle. That would have been quite an unusual and terrifying sight. But of course, understandably, that won't be on the players' minds now. Alexander Schäferin coming onto the pitch, forming a very orderly queue of officials behind him. Given what is still going on in the world at the moment, the tournament has definitely gone on quite smoothly. at least in terms of COVID cases within players, which has been kept to a minimum. That said, with the amount of distance teams had to travel, and the regarding that there will still be COVID cases resulting from these matches. The tournament does have its share of problems. Trophy is presented not with red, white and blue ribbons. Red, white and green. And it is Donnarumma who steps forward. I believe this is for keeper of the tournament as opposed to player of the tournament. No? It is indeed awarded to Donnarumma. There were so many contenders. Some may even make a case for likes of Paul Pogba, whose team didn't even make it to the quarter-finals. Donnarumma, of course, spent much of this tournament as a free agent, with his contract with AC Milan having expired. The officials, the match officials that is, not the UEFA ones, onto the podium to collect, I don't believe they collect medals, but some kind of award. They are indeed medals. They are the first to receive them before anybody else. Staff, managers, players, the ones running the show. No red cards in this final, like so many in the past. And a guard of honour from the Italian players. An embrace between Gareth Southgate and Roberto Mancini. Both men have so much to be proud of their performances at this tournament. That's all Harry Kane, all too familiar with wearing in recent times. Trippier, Maguire next up. Shaw also was runners-up in that Europa League final. Pickford, Stones, Rashford the first English taker to miss. Mason Mount, who won the Champions League with Chelsea, does not add a trophy this summer. Phillips, great tournament from him. Saka, Grealish, Ramsdale, who came into the team very late. Walker, who finished runners-up with Manchester City in the Champions League. Rice, Tyrone Mings, Sancho, Sam Johnston of West Bromwich Albion was the second choice goalkeeper after Dean Henderson pulled out with injury. Sterling, Chilwell, who didn't feature at the tournament at all. Henderson, who's experienced defeat in the UEFA Champions League final and will go on to win the following edition. Foden, Reece James, Last in the queue, the youngest player at the tournament, Jude Bellingham. Most of the English players removed their medals. So hard moments. First in the queue, perhaps quite understandably, a man who, never mind play football, has been hardly able to walk with his dreadful Achilles injury, Leonardo Spinazzola. He quite rightly is the first to receive a medal. Hops past the trophy. Bonucci next. Very proud of what he's achieved for his country. Donnarumma. Florenzi, who barely featured in the tournaments, but a medal is still a medal. Sirigu. There's the other goalkeeper, Alex Murray, who didn't play in the tournament whatsoever. Insigne, Immobile, Bellotti, whose blushes after missing from the penalty spot are spared. Berardi, Bastoni. I'm missing some names. There's Pescina, popped up with a couple of goals. Locatelli filled in brilliantly for Verratti earlier in the competition. Jorginho, Barella, Verratti, Federico Chiesa, who limps. He certainly was hurt. Don't feel he is the first player to kiss the trophy, even though he's the first we see on camera to have done so. Last before the captain is Bernardeschi. Roberto Mancini with a well-deserved medal. And finally, Chiellini, who joins the likes of Scirea, Cannavaro in lifting a prestigious trophy for his country. We had Lionel Messi in the early hours of the morning, UK time, lifting the Copa America for Argentina. Now a man from the land of Messi's ancestors lifts the trophy. Italy are champions of Europe. The winners of Euro 2020. And very well deserved too. It is coming Rome. And the moment is all theirs. An extraordinary comeback story. And they should be so proud. The tournaments where France and Germany couldn't even make the first knockout rounds. Both finalists were questions about the difficulty of their opponents. They barely held off Austria. They were taken to penalties by Spain. But they in the end are taking the trophy back to their country. It's not as prestigious as the World Cup trophy or the European Cup, but the Henri Delaunay still has great prestige. And it will still be quite a moment to savour. It would certainly have been the same if England had won. The arch of Wembley Stadium ignites. The players of which the stadium is based in could not win, could not beat the Azzurri. Bonucci, a very proud man. At times he's been as much of a leader as his centre-back partner. Very worthy winners at the end of what has been an exceptional tournament. They commenced it with the opening game against Turkey in Rome exactly 1 month ago to the day, and then proceeded to go all the way to this moment. It's not often that the host nation goes on to win, or the team that, in this instance, played out the opening game, but they have certainly proven worthy. And of course, in addition, and it's farewell to a spectacular tournament. 1 month long. 51 games. 15 knockout games. So many surprises. We had Finland defeating eventual semi-finalist Denmark in their first game. Very dreadful circumstances befalling Denmark in that match, but still a proud game for Finland. You had the Netherlands back in front after giving away a 2-goal lead against Ukraine. That was certainly one of the better matches opening the tournaments. Spain's 5-goal thrashing of Slovakia. So many great goals. Patrick Schick's incredible goal from halfway against Scotland. And I believe he will receive the golden boot, since I believe only one of his goals was from the penalty spot, and 3 of Ronaldo's were penalties. The group of death where none of the teams in it, France, Germany and Portugal, progressed as expected, but none of them could get into the last 8, eliminated by Switzerland. Was France in probably the game of the tournament. Germany by England, and then Portugal by Belgium. And the knockouts themselves produced many surprises, as knockouts often do. The Czech Republic eliminating the Netherlands, Denmark blowing away Wales, just as they had done to Russia a few days before. Spain and Croatia playing out an 8-goal thriller. Croatia from the dead, clawing back a 2-goal deficit and taking it to extra time. France, Switzerland, as I mentioned, an extraordinary match that will be remembered for years and years. Sweden pipped at the last by Ukraine, England seeing off the Germans. Switzerland almost beating Spain on penalties. Funnily enough, all 3 semi-finals going to extra time, 2 of which to penalties. And I'm sure there's so many moments and games I forgot about. It's been an absolutely remarkable tournament. I wasn't expecting so many goals. 110 or 120 would have been my bet. In the end, there were 142. About the level you'd expect at club level, really. 2.78 goals per game. As I said, so many surprises, so many upsets, even more than most tournaments. Will we see something like this again? Who knows? I will certainly be back with more live streams. I just won't be for the time being, because ultimately it is the summer and it is time for everyone to enjoy the holiday. The players, of course, most of all deserve it. So many of them playing 7 games on the back of a lengthy club season. There is in North America the Gold Cup. Some of Euro 2020's players could even be with their national teams again in the Olympic Games in Japan. And pretty much as soon as the games themselves end, the club season will begin. And that will be a much condensed club season once more, as was the case last season. And then a few months into the 2022-23 season, it will be the FIFA World Cup, the next major tournament. UEFA have a mini tournament in the next few months, as I mentioned earlier, contested between Spain, the new European champions, Italy, France, and Belgium. And that will be exciting in its own right, I'm sure. But well, it's been an extraordinary tournament. I'm tired, saddened at the outcome a little bit, as much as I try and be unbiased. That was Euro 2020. Quite a show, quite a spectacle. And hopefully the next tournaments I broadcast will be just as thrilling. I'll certainly be back with more live streams, almost certainly of the club sort. But I have to be off. And I'll cover my reactions to the tournaments. Apologies for not covering the start of the game and the national anthems. Just had difficulties. But I'll be back soon. Hopefully more videos and live streams coming your way, guys. I hope you enjoyed my coverage of the tournaments if you watched all the way through. And I will see you all very soon. So, bye for now. And I hope you're enjoying the tournament as great as mine. See you all soon. Bye.